What is up? It is the Vulpex Trainer here with another Dueling Done Technical. Today's card of the day for Yu-Gi-Oh! Is Graceful Dice. So this is a pretty good one. You roll a dice like this, and then you get a 4. Now, according to this card's effect, basically you get attack and defense added to each of your monsters. So you'd get 400 if you got a 4, 100 if you got a 1, you know. It's all pretty simple, it's all pretty good, and it's all really nice. So that's our thing of the day, but it actually segues into something different. What are some other useful traps and magics that go good in any deck? Because that could be a pretty good little trap or magic, and I don't know why I said trap for, it's a magic. So I've compiled 5 things here for each of what could be useful. So let's start with the traps, because I like to trap people in my dungeons. What? Okay, no. Let me just pull this out a bit so that way you can see it a little better. Alright, so the first one we got here is going to be a fairy box. Now this is a little bit of a risky card, so I'm just going to read out the effect of this one real quick to tell you. I'm not even going to abridge because it's not something you can. Each time a monster on your opponent's side of the field attacks, toss a coin and call heads or tails. If you call it right, the attacking monster's attack becomes 0 during this battle phase only. Pay 500 life points during each of your standby phases. If you cannot, this card is destroyed. So, in a bit of a way, this is a very hard to run card. Because of that 500 per day sacrifice, it's going to be a bit more on the risky side. However, if you're taking some heavy loss from a pretty buff monster, this might be a little more worth it to run if your numbers are starting to hurt. So Fairy Box is a pretty decent one to run if you're having a few problems with monsters that are too big for you to take out quickly. Next we have got Memory Loss, and once again I'm just going to read out its effect. It's pretty nice. So basically, when an attack monster your opponent controls activates an effect, negate that effect, and if you do, change that monster to face-up defense. So this is going to be a pretty nice little way to just kind of negate an attack and make sure it can't do it again. So this does not target from what I understand, so that's pretty much all there is to say. Moving on. The next card here is Synchro Barrier, and I know synchros aren't ran by everyone, but if you tribute a synchro monster you control, you do not take any damage until the end phase. Well, this one may seem a little bit unorthodox, but you gotta realize one thing. You can basically do whatever you want after that. So this could be used for many different combos that result in you actually living a lot better. So I don't really have much else to say. Synchro Barrier is a good one, so you know, pick it up. You might notice that some of these traps are more desperation traps. But let's go with something that's a little bit more earth-shaking. With Earthshaker. So if you guys don't know what this one does, it's been in the game for a very long time. I think since the Pharaoh's Servant packs. Let me check. PSV, yeah, Pharaoh's Servant. So basically you have to choose 2 monster attributes, like dark and light. And so after that, you gotta actually make your opponent choose one of the two, and all monsters that are that on the field is destroyed. So you can basically tell why I put this one on this list, and it's mostly because of its destructive power. So there's not really much else to say about Earthshaker. It's very freaking awesome just to take out one specific type of monster. The most common thing I'd say it would be used for, let's say, I'm not going to put in this as a thing that would usually happen, but let's say they have two bulky dark monsters and two bulky light monsters. Yes, I have a toon deck if you're wondering. It's just, I'm still constructing it. They would have to, if you chose dark and light, they'd either have to kill off these two or these two. There's nothing they can do about it. So, that's Earthshaker. Probably going to be running that sometime within the next little bit in one of my decks. This one is something I was not going to put in, but however, I needed 5 and I thought this would be a nice little thing. It's called Fairy's Hand Mirror. So since this is short, I'll just give it to you. Switch the opponent's spell effect that designates one monster as a target to another correct target. So this is just kind of a way to reflect one problem onto another monster that you don't care that's destroyed. Say an effect kills a monster. If it's a spell, you can just flip the hand mirror up and put it somewhere else. Now the good thing here is it does not specify that it is one side or the other, so basically you can actually target your opponent's monsters. So that is it for the traps. But what about the magics? Do you believe in them? Because here they come. Griffin's Feather Duster. It's much like Harpy's, but however, the only difference being is that you destroy all the traps and magics, and you basically can increase your life points by the number of destroyed cards. So it's pretty broken. And I don't know if it's on the banned or limited list, but however, on last check I didn't see it, so yep, that is something worth grabbing. Next, we've got Dark Factory of Mass Production. You basically select 2 normal monsters and add them to your hand from the graveyard. It's a very simple effect, but again, it's got a lot of potential. So there's not much more to say about Dark Factory of Mass Production. It's really cool, and it's something that you can actually use to kind of bring some sacrifice monsters back, or bring back a couple of really good defense monsters or something, you know. There's quite a few things I'm sure you can do with it. Offerings to the Doomed. So you can destroy one face-up monster, and then you skip your next draw phase. Again, this is going back to the whole desperation thing, but however, this one is not that big of a sacrifice, as it only takes one of your draw phases away. I think this is a pretty good little thing, because it doesn't specify any kind of low level or lowest attack or anything like that. You just choose a face-up monster and that thing's destroyed. It's also a quick play spell, so that's good. Next, we have the Advanced Zone. Now, this has to do with tribute summoning. It's got 3 levels of, effect, each corresponding with the 3 levels of tribute, 1, 2, and 3 monsters. So, if you tribute one or more monster, and by the way, you can actually use lower as well, you can basically tribute one or more. You have to choose one of them. You destroy one set card your opponent controls, which means, you know, magic or trap that's on the field and upside down. If you sacrificed 2 or more, you can actually draw a card. And 3 or more, and kind of most hard to do, you add 1 monster from the graveyard to your hand. And by the way, it's an infinite spell. So, any tributes that you do from now on will be affected by Advanced Zone. The final card of the day is Reign of Mercy. Now this is kind of a thing you want to play whenever you've got low and he's got high. It'll just buy your time a little bit because each player gets 1,000 life points. Now, some may argue that this is not a good way and that there's better ways to do it, but if you have this in your deck and you're running a couple Diane Ketos, I can't really ever say that card, then this is a pretty okay way to do it. So, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this episode of Dueling Done Technical. This has been episode 2, so go check out the other episode. I'll be having another one today, and yep, I'll be doing a few more videos here, so keep tuned.